Apparently, there are quite a few US citizens. So this is the opposite from moving to the US. I'm talking about moving away from the US now. So there are quite a few citizens, including some of my clients, who are trying to renounce their citizenship. But the embassies haven't fully reopened in certain cases. How is this being handled? Do you have any insight into that?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, thank you for having me on again, and it's great to be able to talk to you and to other people all around the world who might have U.S. immigration or migration type of questions. So it's nice to be here today. To answer your question, yeah, this is a very interesting phenomenon that is actually happening right now. That is not really the way it's supposed to be working, because legally speaking, if an individual, a U.S. citizen, wants to renounce his or her U.S. citizenship, they make an appointment at a U.S. embassy or a consulate abroad in the foreign country, and there's a process to go through. And it involves generally 2 or 3 different steps, and in most places, 2 appearances at the embassy. The first time you make your appearance and you let the consular officer know that you want to renounce, they will then give you some time to think about it, because it's actually, of course, a very important decision and one that you generally cannot retract. So once it's set into motion and you decide, you take the oath of renunciation, it's a done deal. And so generally that's why you appear twice. And so generally speaking, this is a process. It's a streamlined process that occurs. But what's happened, and it actually started during the former administration of President Trump, he kind of put the brakes on the whole renunciation process, because I think the perception from that administration is that there's a loss of tax revenue. So if someone's going to renounce, well, why make it so easy for them to do so? Maybe they're doing this for tax reasons. Maybe they're doing this for reasons that don't benefit the US government. So we don't necessarily need to help them fast track it. And so everything kind of slowed down. And then the pandemic hit, and it was a good excuse for embassies and consulates under the former administration to basically put all of those requests at the bottom. And so they could say, well, we only have limited resources. Consulates and embassies are only open limited capacity. We can only review certain number of cases a week. These are going at the bottom of the pile. And so that happened for quite a while. But during the last year, things started to get back on track. Renunciation appointments were opening up at various posts around the world. I know from just my personal experience dealing with cases in Europe, in several posts had opened. South America, same as well. Canada had just started to reopen. So all around the world, there were openings happening, but certain countries, no. I'm still getting word from some of my clients and other partners that some embassies absolutely have a solid stop. They're not doing them at all right now. And so, to answer your question, it's kind of a long-winded answer, but yeah, I think what can you do about it if you're trying to renounce? You can generally start the process the normal way. And if you start getting pushback, speak to Derren, and he can reach out to us, or speak to us, and we can try to help you, because we can, in certain cases, talk to the embassy and the consulate and see if there's a reason behind the scenes, what's happening, why is this going on, and if there's an urgent need for you to renounce. For example, some individuals may have to renounce to take a job with a foreign government in a certain country. So there are reasons why this has to move faster. And so if that's the case, we can try to intervene. But yeah, unfortunately, some of the posts are just very slow, and they're trickling to a stop. Actually, Singapore is very slow.
Very slow. From what one of my clients told me, they're being told that it's not possible. But you're saying that if that someone was to reach out to you, perhaps you can assist.
Perhaps we can. We'd have to look at the case and the background and the timing. But yeah, you're correct. Actually, the official policy, the latest that I've seen from Embassy Singapore is that it has stopped. They're not taking these cases right now, but there's actually no legal justification to do that. And so I guess my point of view is, if you really want to push this, I think that you can push it. It's just most people, you know, they say, well, we'll just wait and come back 6 months later because there isn't an urgency. But if there is, yeah, definitely, it's worth it to look at it.
Right, because it's my clients in Southeast Asia, especially if they're on track to get another citizenship, and as you know, most Asian countries only allow one, so they'll need to give up the US one. So it's just like delaying that part of their life. I've also heard some of them discussing, some of the people in my network, they're discussing getting in touch with embassies in other countries that appear to be open, particularly in Europe, which appears to be a bit more open as opposed to the Asian embassies. But at the same time, they're being told by those embassies in, I guess, certain European countries that, yeah, we'd like to help you, but we can only help you if you're a legal resident of the jurisdiction in which we are, an embassy. So I know one person who is actually taking that extra step. They so want to get rid of their US citizenship that they're pursuing residency in a given, I don't want to say which one it is, a given European country, with a view, as soon as they get it, first day, they're heading down to the embassy to renounce their US passport. Is that overkill?
You're absolutely right with that assessment too, because the whole concept about looking somewhere else, it's called forum shopping. And so you look for a different consulate or embassy to take your case. And so most of the time with any type of visa, if for example, if you get denied on a tourist visa in Singapore, some people will say, well, I'm going to try it in Malaysia, or I'm going to try it in Indonesia. And so the consulates and the embassies, they know because they have all of the records. And so whenever they see someone hopping around to try to get a better decision, generally it doesn't work. Sometimes you might get a more lenient ear that listens to you and it works out. But yeah, this whole concept of forum shopping, it applies to renunciations as well. It's the same thing. Unless you're a resident in that consular district, you're generally going to have a difficult time getting them to accept you. The one way workaround with this type of situation is if, for example, if you travel in the summertime, you might rent a place for 2 months, 3 months, and plan to spend the summer there. Well, then now you have a valid reason for being there for an extended period of time. And most embassies would be able to accept that argument.
Okay, that's great to know. Now you mentioned, you kind of hinted that it's of course normally an irrevocable decision. So you sometimes, I know some embassies give you a cooling off period, so come back. Or some of them, I remember London would do it immediately, so in one appointment. So I guess it depends on the consular official, depends on the embassy, depends on your situation. But are you aware of circumstances where someone's, I guess, efforts to renounce have been denied? And if so, generally speaking, what steps can one take to avoid any problems at the embassy?
Yeah, personally speaking, I mean, we've been doing this for a while and have had many renunciations and also abandonment of green card, abandonment of permanent resident status, which is similar for green card holders. But yeah, I've seen a lot of different scenarios. I've rarely ever seen someone denied the actual ability to go through the process. I've had individuals have a tough time when they set out the process in the wrong way. Because, we can't get into too much detail here because this is really complicated on the tax side, as you know, and it deals with civil and criminal issues that come up if you renounce for certain reasons, and certain boxes aren't checked properly. But we've had individuals who have gotten off on the wrong foot with the consular officer and said a couple of the wrong things. And so that leads you down a different road. And so you might find an embassy less willing to take the case on without doing what's called administrative processing or further background review and checks. So they may take your name. I mean, they're going to take anything you give them, and they're going to say, okay, well, let us do a little bit of a research, because based on what you said, I think we need to figure out if everything's working properly and we can do this. And then they'll go back and do their own security checks. And so that may delay it for quite some time. So it is helpful to just always do this the right way.
Understood. Okay, so that's helpful to know. So I guess that's another point to suggest that, hey, if it is you're going to make this huge decision, it's good to get legal advice.
Please subscribe, like, share, and comment below. Our books and upcoming event are available at htj.tax. Email us at help@htj.tax to engage us, to advise on international tax or business matters.